And yes, I'm in. So welcome to blog week number 25. I got late recording this one, just because I've been doing stuff and I've somehow managed to get almost a bit out of sync. So I was thinking about squeezing 2 weeks in together, but it don't make sense because I'm in. I changed countries yesterday. I'm in Colombia, and in 2 days it'll be exactly 6 months worth of time. So I thought I'd just do a quick short one to summarise my final week of Ecuador. I had such a mental day on the journey getting here yesterday from Ecuador to Colombia, but I'm going to talk about that on the next one. So just for a little short one, just to quickly update what I did last week. End of the last vlog, I just had those like crazy 4 or 5 days doing those amazing, gorgeous, beautiful hikes in the sort of south of Quito. I then arrived in Quito in a really cool hostel called Mindo Hostel, and straight away met a couple of Danish girls called Yanni and Marlene. I basically spent the next 7 days travelling with those guys. They're really cool. We did some good stuff. Spent a couple of days in Quito walking around the city. It's like Ecuador's capital. There's some really cool things to see. First day we did a walk around the old town. We actually went to do the free walking tour. Waited, the two of us and a Kiwi guy called Peter, for like 20-25 minutes. Nobody showed up. We found out later we were waiting in the wrong place, so we just went and did our own tour through the city. I took loads of photos, maybe a couple of videos. I think I've got one here. Yes, been walking around Quito. Pretty nice. Up on the hill there is a massive statue, and over there, pretty cool. And behind me as well, really cool little neighbourhood. Just like a random bit. Couple of like really cool churches as well along the way. But if you're interested in seeing loads of those, you can check out my Instagram. But also we walked right up to the top. So in the middle of Quito there's a big hill with a really massive statue of, I think it's like the Virgin Mary or some sort of angel. It's quite hard to tell. And you can climb up the top of it and you get an amazing view and vista from right over the top. So that was like really cool. So yeah, you can see that. So basically a good day kind of like touristing around the city. So my plan had been, after a couple of days in Quito, to go to a town called Mindo, which is supposed to be really nice, and it turned out that the girls wanted to go there too. So we took the bus over to Mindo. Mindo's like a really small, it's barely a town. I suppose you call it a town. It's almost like a large village in the rainforest. It's famous for like being able to see some really cool birds. Not that I'm a particularly keen birder, but that was pretty cool, and some making lots of chocolates as well. So obviously the first thing we did there was go and get completely hammered in a town that's not even remotely a party town, but we did have a really good a really good time. I haven't taken many photos from that, but we drank a lot of shots, and yeah, yeah, this is us. So that kind of wiped out the first day there, but the next day we managed to motivate ourselves to get up at 5 in the morning to go and see these crazy birds called Coco the Rock. There's only like 300 of them in the whole world, and Mindo is the only place you can actually go and see them in the wild. We went and saw them at like super early as they're like flirting with each other and mating around. They've got a really weird like group dynamic where their groups have just one lady and then like 15 men, and they all kind of constantly competing for her love. So this is what they look like. I didn't take this photo, but you can kind of see that they were really beautiful. But you would have needed a much better camera to take that. So that was cool, and then we went to another kind of bird place and saw like loads of cool birds. Like we saw toucans and loads of hummingbirds, and actually like for someone who's not, as I said, particularly into like checking them out, it was like really actually an amazing day to see all that stuff. So that was kind of cool. We also went to a chocolate factory and ate some delicious chocolate, including the chocolate bar, which has won the award for, what was it, the Golden Bar, which has won the best chocolate award in the whole of Ecuador. That was like a coffee infused chocolate, and that was kind of delicious. And then again, the day before we left, we went to like another hummingbird and like butterfly place, which had some nice flowers. So it's not exactly like a high octane week, look, checking out birds and butterflies and eating chocolate, but I was a really cool few days in Mindo, and it's a really nice town. Then went back to Quito, and I was trying to like work out what the plan was to do. Like the girls had another like 3 days before they were flying down to the Galapagos. We went to a town of Otavalo, which is like a really nice market town that's just like a couple of hours north of Quito. It was fairly cool. Like the people there were really friendly. There's a lot of like local indigenous people like selling their, probably the kind of stuff that you would expect, like lots of like lots of jewellery and lots of like hats and hammocks and stuff made out of llama and alpaca, and that was cool. This is my Otavalo hat. The weirdest thing that happened there was, of all of these things we could have bought, Marlene decided to buy the skull of a dead monkey, which a guy had found in the forest. She thought her dad would really like, and she's going to have to somehow smuggle that back to Denmark. So that was pretty funny. And then basically after that, I was like, okay, need to get to Colombia. So I'd met a girl in the hostel called Nadia, who's actually just sitting here. So if I'm feeling a bit self-conscious on this, it's because somebody's watching me. And she'd basically heard that there was a route to get across to Colombia from Ecuador, which wasn't using the normal border. So we've heard so many horror stories about the border crossing at the moment, the main one from Ecuador to Colombia, because there's so many, without turning it into a political blog, there's so many issues in Venezuela at the moment. They're fleeing out of the country, and they're sort of spreading their way through South America. So there's like hundreds and hundreds of people every day crossing the border, Venezuelan people crossing the border. I'd met several people in the hostel who'd said that they had to wait for 6, 7, 8 hours. On my last night in Quito, I met Tim, who you may remember from some of the other blogs, the guy I travelled with for like 4 weeks in Central America, who just come in the other direction. He had to wait for 8 hours at the border, as well as like big 8-9 hour buses on either direction as well. So that kind of basically sealed the deal that I was going to basically go with Nadia through this other border crossing. I hadn't done that much research about it, and I'm going to just save that story for the next time. But all in all, really cool, nice end of the week in Ecuador. Really cool to hang out with Yanni and Marlene. I'm sure I'll see those guys again, whether it's in Denmark or somewhere else. And yeah, thanks for watching. Short blog. Stay tuned for the next one, because it was fucking mental getting here yesterday. And yeah, the final update on the Traveller's 10. I got a new one today. I'm up to 55. So a guy from called Timo from Germany joined. Marlene, the Danish girls, put hers in, and she had a Michael Jackson song, which means Jacko is at the top of the list. 6 songs, 5 different songs. He's knocked off Bon Iver. So we finally had a change at the top. They're still coming in at a rate of sort of 2 or 3 a week. I'm loving it, as always. If you want to send in your top 10 songs of all time, that'll be awesome. And yeah, thanks for listening. A bit of a disjointed one, but yeah, as always, big love. Hit me up with a message anytime, and I'll speak to you soon. Mwah.
Our latest creation. Based on our original elixir, we've crafted a truly special flavor that put Jägermeister again in a class of its own. We call it Jägermeister Manifest.
Can you read some more stuff from me?